Where were you when you found out about your brother?
It was close to 3 in the morning. My mom called me, and thing is, my phone, I guess, was on silent because of, it was so late, so she called me on WhatsApp, and that's not silent, so, I remember even my wife telling me, like, "I think you're getting a phone call," and I'm like, "That's weird." I looked, I was like, "It's Mom, I hope everything's okay," but, I mean, let's be honest, it's 3 in the morning, I'm getting a phone call. I'm hoping it's a butt dial, but it I'm so I pick up, and I'll never forget it. Mom, she's from Colombia, South America, speaks English perfectly fine, but, she told me in Spanish, like, "Jimmy, there's blood all over the place." And I'm like, I will I'll just you could understand the expletives that I might have used, like, just out of shock. I won't share them, but, like, it's like, "Holy crap, what do you mean?" And she's like, "There's blood all over the place. Just could you come over?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah," like, "Yeah," and I'm like, my heart dropped.
Rough Grain is archiving the stories people usually keep hidden. If you want to hear the unpolished truth, subscribe to help us document these turning points. At what point did you start to notice any of these, what would you call maybe intrusive thoughts?
I was going out of my mind, and, um, like, when I tell you the seconds felt like minutes, like, the minutes felt like hours, the hours felt like like, there was no climbing out of this, like, I would he I would feel these thoughts like, "Wow, you're worthless," and you should just end it. You're pathetic. You're like, things that I know I would never tell myself, or no one should tell themselves, honestly. Like, um, and then I later found out more the science behind it, and then that's what helped me later on. But it went on for, I remember, 100 days, because I call it my 100 days in hell, and it was awful. I mean, the fact that I survived that is a miracle in itself. It really, like, it really was a challenge. And I remember, like, still working in the church, I would still get to work, but I would sleep until about 11 or 12. I would go in, hide in my office, do the thing I had to do, or whatever things I had to do. I had a very flexible schedule, but it was just, yeah. Um, I can remember times where if somebody would sneeze, I might snap at them. And it's like, just for sneezing, it's like, no, there's no reason to snap at them. It just, I had no interest in getting up in the morning. Um, I figured I'm not gonna accomplish anything. Like, what's the point? I might as well just lay here all day. And, just putting 2 feet on the ground might have been my biggest accomplishment. And, and fortunately at that time we had a dog. We have 3 dogs now, my wife and I. Well, the one's laying right next to me, the other 2 with her. But golden retriever by the name of Sonny. I call him Saint Sonny now. He's since passed on, unfortunately, but dogs can't live as long as humans. I wish they could, but it is what it is. But he could sense there was something up, because I would be laying at my parents' house. I would on the sofa, and he'd put his nose, like, literally like an inch from mine, and I would be like, "What's up, buddy? What do you need, son?" And it was, he needed to take me for a walk, but he needed me to put the leash on him so that he could do it. I can recall even eventually talking to a friend of mine on the computer, mind you. And God bless him, because he actually, we would talk. There's this thing called AOL, AOL chat. I remember that back in the day. Um, and he could tell that something was up. He could tell that I wasn't acting myself. And he's like, "Dude, are you okay?" And I was like, "Honestly, no." I said, I don't feel myself. I said, "I feel like I want to hurt myself." I said, and um, he's like, "You know what, man? I think you might have depression." And I said, "What is that?" And he said, "Well," he told me he had it. He took a medicine for it, and he said, "Well, just look it up and then see if those symptoms are there. Do you have those symptoms?" So I looked them up. Every single symptom that I was feeling was on that list.
Where were you when you found out about your brother?
It was close to 3 in the morning. My mom called me, and thing is, my phone, I guess, was on silent because of, it was so late, so she called me on WhatsApp, and that's not silent, so, I remember even my wife telling me, like, "I think you're getting a phone call," and I'm like, "That's weird." I looked, I was like, "It's mom, I hope everything's okay," but, I mean, let's be honest, it's 3 in the morning, I'm getting a phone call. I'm hoping it's a butt dial, but it I'm so I pick up, and I'll never forget it. Mom, she's from Colombia, South America, speaks English perfectly fine, but, she told me in Spanish, like, "Jimmy, there's blood all over the place." And I'm like, I will I'll just you could understand the expletives that I might have used, like, just out of shock. I won't share them, but, like, it's like, "Holy crap, what do you mean?" And she's like, "There's blood all over the place. Just could you come over?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah," like, "Yeah," and I'm like, my heart dropped. I've never felt like that before. Like, I and I'm thinking, like, "Is it my dad? Did something happen? Like, did he have a massive heart attack and just, or something? Or, like, what the heck's going on?" And so Shannon and I drive over. My wife is Shannon. I'm sorry, Paul. We drive over, and I remember going down, like, they live 3 miles from us. And I remember going down the hill to their house, and there must have been, yeah, I don't know, 7 police cars, bunch of police officers outside in the front. There was an ambulance there. I remember asking the first officer, like, that we saw, I was like, is he okay?" Now, I didn't know who he was at that point in time. Is it my dad? Is it my brother? I know it wasn't my mom because she's the one who made the call. And, he's like, "No." And I like, so first of all, now I don't now someone has died. I don't know if it's my brother, I don't know if it's my dad. I'm like, "Holy crap, what," like, so we both go in, there's more officers there. I'm like, there must have been maybe like 10 police officers, either in the house or outside the house, at the start. And then my brother's door was closed, and I'm thinking, like, "Oh," so, like, I had an idea it might have been him, but then I go back and I see my dad, and he was sitting on his chair, and he was like, "Yeah, Jim, he did it." Like, he was just but, like, just a shock. Like, I can't even you'd have to be, like, an Academy Award actor to be able to mimic how, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can't even do it, like, but he was just, and you could just tell he was, like, my dad obviously so defeated, like, he did because my brother lived at home with my dad and my mom too, and but they would do everything, like, they would watch TV tonight at night, they would do everything, like, a lot of stuff together, um, and thinking to myself, like, "What the heck happened?" And I saw my mom, obviously give them both hugs and stuff, and, then they told me, like, "Yeah, he shot himself," and my dad even said, like, he found this, like, gun. Yeah, he went in my mom actually, the way it happened was my mom doesn't sleep well to begin with. So, she got up, she saw down, like, my brother's light was on. So, she walked down the hallway, thinking, like, "I'll just shut the light off. He's probably asleep." And opened the door and saw him, on the ground and, like, almost like in a praying position. And he was holding the gun and went back to get my dad. My dad came out, like, thinking, like, "What the heck's going on?" And my dad actually shot one of the bullets, not into pop, but, like, just, like, in the to see, like, "Is this a real gun?" Like, "What the," like, we don't have guns in our houses, so it's not like, and it was one of these, um, how would I put it? Reactions, like, that he just didn't know. It's like, "What the heck's going on?" "We don't have guns here. Where did this come from?" Like, I don't get it. And so, like, you know, they shut the door, and, we had to tell the police, give our statements and stuff like that. The coroner came in. I remember they spent a lot of time in his room. Um, and it was just, for us, we were visibly, obviously, sorry, might stumble over some words here. Um, just to say we were shaken up would be an understatement. Like, and he was one of the most fit individuals. Like, if you saw him, like, he was only a couple years younger than me, but he was 2 years younger. But he looked like he was about 30 years old when like 25, 30 years old. He was in phenomenal condition. I mean, and what we believe happened was it was during COVID, like that time frame, if you will. Like, um, so a lot of this, I think it was just more like he got in his mind that something was wrong. I don't know what. They went to the hospital, get it checked out, and it was probably like anxiety, depression, something like that. But they checked him, everything, and they're like, "Oh, there's nothing wrong." And you can only imagine, like, if I can, like, I know when I had depression, if somebody would have told me, "Well, there's nothing wrong," wow, that that would have not been good because I had a potential out to my, to that war I was fighting. I could beat it if you know, with the tools that I was given. So what wound up happening with Bob was he was fine at first, like after that, like after the hospital visit, the ER visit, but then he started looking, I think he was afraid to fall asleep. He was afraid he wouldn't wake up, and that could be the depression playing games with, so he wouldn't sleep. And like, if you don't sleep, that's, forget it, like your mind's going to take over and you're going to, so we know that he had looked up like how to survive without sleep, how to like, and like, so we know that he did look that up. Now, he didn't leave any note or anything like that. Um,
Was your brother's passing what set off your second bout of depression?
yes, like, what happened the second bout was we had just finished teaching in a COVID year, which was, oh, it was awful. Like, it was terrible to begin. Like, just teaching the certain days we'd have these kids come in, certain days we'd have these kids come in. Wednesday you taught online. It was not pleasant. So that then at the same time, um, yeah, like he had died April 26th. Um, I was after I took about a week off to help my parents, just to gather my thoughts, just to get through everything, and also create a boundary with the teachers because I didn't want everyone, and I know they have the best intentions, and I work with some wonderful people, but they would say, "How are you guys doing?" And it's like I didn't want to revisit that every time. So I remember telling them, like, in an email, "Guys, please don't ask me how we're doing. We're starting to get into our new normal, but I know you guys care about me and I care about you guys too. So, but when I'm ready to talk about it, I definitely will." But it's like now, mind you, this is 4 years later, and it's only now that I'm starting to get more. But yeah, then the school year ended, and I just stayed busy. Like, I stayed super busy, um, and so it was fine. I was fine until, I would say, mid to late June, because what had happened was in the meantime, from the 2016 to 2019, 2020, I had finished with my doctorate in education. So I went to Drexel for that, and I got my doctorate in education, and I was just, everything was so busy. Like, there was no rest for the weary, no time off. But Bob was very proud of me as well. Like, just like I would be proud of him for his accomplishments. Um, but then once things settled down, I just remember the one day, and we were actually walking in the door, my wife and I was like, "Oh crap, it's back," and it's like what, and it's like the depression. But I knew that moment, because of that first experience I had, I could bypass those 100 days and say, "This is what I have." How do I know? Because I've already had it, and I have all those symptoms again. So, and people would ask me, "Oh, what do you guys do? What are you doing to help your parents to get through this?" It's like, I got to help myself. Like I had to put myself first there because I didn't have that chance to really truly grieve, to have that time to have those to wrestle with um my feelings, and so because at that point there was no antidepressants, there was no therapist, no nothing. And I mean it hit hard. And I mean it was far worse than the first one. Far worse. Um what had happened was it it was bad, like every day, like it felt like a month to just get through the day. The energy it took to just get from every minute, every half hour, like I might look at the clock, be like, "Oh, okay, this is the time." And then I might look at it, what I thought was about an hour later, 5 minutes passed. And I just that's what happens with the serotonin, like when it's not working adequately between your neurotransmitters, your time slows down tremendously. And I just wanted to go to bed because I could escape this world, at that point in time. But then like I had some serious thoughts of, ending my life, but suicidal ideations. I wouldn't do it, but there are times I would come down at night, like maybe I had to go to the bathroom or I wanted to eat something. And I would hear like, I can take away the pain. There's a knife, just you know what to do. And I'm a devout Catholic, and I remember like, Jesus, this isn't coming from you. I said, Jesus, take pretty much Jesus, take the wheel, like for real. And I said, God, I need your help here. I really need you to get me through this. My wife and I started going to mass every day because this was in the summer. I would receive the Holy Eucharist every day. Like it was like really was a battle, I believe, against the devil. Just pray every day that I can help others navigate through either their own lived experiences with depression or mental illness. Doesn't matter if it's depression itself, but I mean obviously I can only speak on my lived experiences with that, but and also those people who have lost a loved one to suicide, because oftentimes we blame ourselves. And there was a time, I kind of did, and I said, well, I can't control what another person does. And seeing it through the lens of my lived experiences, where if you remember, I said, like, you're seeing like this much of the world, like that's all you're seeing, and everything's black and white. Like, unless you actually go through it, it's difficult to truly comprehend and to get through. Because if you think of it, like, if someone wants to end their life to get rid of that pain, how bad that pain must be. Like truly how bad that pain must be. And it's not a like it shouldn't reflect on the people who love that person. Like, maybe the love you gave that person helped them to survive even longer, and like for me, I even when I do like these talks, or like here, even doing a memoir, like just things like that I want to help other people. I ask the Holy Spirit for guidance because I'm like, hey, I couldn't do this unless the strength was given to me. So I'm just a messenger, I'm getting the strength from somebody else. That's just how I see it, and but now I'm at the point where it's I want to help as many people as possible. Like I truly, 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 we have 3 dogs here, and my wife, like the dogs, they could tell I wasn't feeling well. During the second bout, and they would come up, they'd always lick me, they'd give me kisses. It helped put a smile on my face, and it was like that unconditional love was there, and like so I always say, dogs are like saints or and angels in fur. That's what I call them, because I hesitate to believe where I would be if it weren't for them, and I miss my brother very much. You know, I talk to him almost every day. Like, it might be in my mind, it might be out loud, but it's like just we have a different relationship now. Like even sometimes talk about him in the present tense, because it's like I still feel like I'm having a conversation, but we're just doing it a different way. I was telling them, like, hey, say hi to grandpa and grandma for me. Because, since they passed on.
Previously, you said you're running to get back the days you lost. Do you think any amount of running will ever actually get them back for you?
Well, that's my symbolic hope. But I will say, like, I've been blessed to say I've finished 21 marathons. Now, the last one I did was 2016, because that's when I started my doctorate at Drexel, and it was, ooh, unfortunately, the running had to give, and it just did. Um, so from that to 2019, then I had the depression. My wife, who's fortunately still with us, thank God, she had gotten cancer. She's okay now, thank God. Then taking care of my parents. Then now it's like this. We had COVID, the whole bit. So now I want to get back into it. Maybe symbolically, I hope it does. But I think that's also why I'm partly so passionate about like these opportunities. And I thank you, from the bottom of my heart, the top of my heart, every corner of my heart, Austin, because uh, I want to have, like, you've provided me with a platform to basically tell people, if you've lost someone to suicide, please realize it's not your fault. If you've helped them, you've tried to do your best, you can only lead a horse to water. Like, and if you're going through it, or you have gone through depression, or if some of the symptoms I mentioned you are going through, or someone else is, please have that conversation. It might be a tough conversation, but see, it's easier to have the conversation with someone when they're alive to say, "Are you thinking about killing yourself?" I wish I could say that to my brother. I really, like, where it's like, maybe he would have lied to me, but maybe he wouldn't have. But I don't have I don't have that chance now. I don't have that choice now. Those of you, if you're listening and somebody who's not acting themselves, something's up, have that conversation with them. It will, you're not going to put in their mind about taking their life. They either have it already or they don't. So by you mentioning, like, are you thinking of killing yourself? Like, they're not going to say, "Oh, that's a good idea." No, they're not. That no one's going to say that. They either have it in their mind or they don't. And maybe they don't say anything to you now, but maybe after they process it, they're like, maybe I should say something. I'll never forget, like, taking the calls, because my parents had been making some calls, after Bob had taken his life, and I remember it's like, "Mom and Dad, I'll make some calls too." Like, it's not a pleasant conversation to have. It's not a happy conversation to have. We made many different calls. I remember posting it on Facebook. I remember not we didn't mention that, about the suicide, but if you read the obituary, it would say, like, money can be donated to local pet shelter, or to the, it was, NAMI, the, National Alliance for Mental Illness. So you put two and two together, like, my parents have a dog, and it was Bob's Juliana's dog. It wound up with them. Um, so that NAMI would be the other option. And, well, how would a person suddenly die? You didn't mention that, but, in the obituary, but yeah, it's something that we come to grips with, and every holiday, especially the first year, was very difficult. Very, very, very difficult. I'm not saying that the holidays now aren't difficult, but we've learned to make new memories. We've learned to kind of take that step for, and that our Bob would want that. Even we used to go to Eagles games. My brother, my dad, and I. We had season tickets for. Well, this was in the past, and then after Bob died, I couldn't go to a game. It was just like, there's no way. Like, we didn't have the tickets anymore, but we had the option to buy them. I was like, I can't go. I can't go without Bob. I was just, and then maybe after the third year after he died, I was like, I think I'm ready to go. I think I'm ready to go. The opportunity came, and we went to a game. My dad and I went to two games this year, like, to see, was it the Broncos and the Giants, like, but in Philly against the Eagles. And it was like, it was nice to have that memory with my dad. because lo and behold, life still moves on. And if I'm there grieving Bob, it's like I have an opportunity to make memories with my father, with my dad, with I don't want to not have those because that's something that I can keep with me. That's something that keeps me going. It keeps him going, keep all of us going. Like so you can't. It's important to grieve, but it's also important to realize that that loved one who might not still be here, they still want you to move on. They still want you to live your life. They still want you to keep on keeping on because that's the only thing you can do. Like you can dwell, you can be sad, but and I get it. I've been there, and there's times I still am, but you have to just move forward. And it might just be taking that baby step into the water the first year or two. But then eventually you might have to put the whole foot in the water. And then eventually you put like your leg in the water, and you just do what you can to honor that person's life too. Because I think that's what they would want. Um, they would want us to always be sad. It's like um, I'm in a good place now or a better place. I'm not in any pain, but you guys don't need to grieve. Like they want you to just live. And that's just an important thing I think to mention.
If the depression comes back a third time, are you ready for it?
I believe so, and I'll tell you why. Like my faith has increased. I can't even put a number on it because it would be not fair to put a number on it. But I've kind of armed myself. I bless myself every day, with holy water. Going to mass, going to communion, like doing stuff that I can to arm myself. Um, I still take the antidepressants. This is from the second bout, even though this was about 4 years ago. I'm still hesitant to go off of them because of how bad the depression was. I still go to therapy to talk therapy. Now it's more of a case of how would I put it? It's not as much about the depression, but maybe some other outlying things that might cause an anxiety or something. So, but for the most part, our conversations are much more. I don't want to call them basic, but I want to call them more just everyday concerns. Um, in the past, my conversations were very, very deep, very deep. Like you can only imagine, like talking about a you know, hallucination and basically seeing the face of what you perceive as the devil on different people, mind you. This is not something that, I and I never used illegal drugs in my entire life. I've never like I rarely drink, alcohol. Like it's not like it could be caused by, some sort of major drug, legal drug. No. So that I believe, yeah, it's I'm not asking for it to happen, I'll tell you that. I would never wish this upon even my worst enemy, but it's something that I've learned to kind of try to let go, let God take care of it, and just the people He has put in my life to just appreciate the everyday, to appreciate allowing people to help, um, to allowing to being receptive to saying no. Like, I used to be a people pleaser. I used to be, that type of and there's times where I'm like, "I have so much on my plate, like, I'm sorry, I can't do this." Like, or whatever that it happens to be. 'Cause those things, like, you might have 100% on your plate. "Sorry, the plate's full. I can't do this," or, like, "I can do this, but then I can't do this. You have to tell me what's your choice." So it's okay to say no, and it's okay, like, taking care of yourself. So I've come with a lot of, fortunately, different tools that, I think would help me and do help me every day to kinda stave anything off, and I have to say, like, my therapist talking about that, Austin, I remember, Susan even telling me this, my second therapist, she had told me when we started, and I'll never forget the first time I met with her after I bawled my eyes out too because it was just this cleansing of sorts. Now, her I met virtually. With Karen, the first time was in person. Um, and she had told me something. She said to me, she said she has been doing therapy for 25 years, 30 years. And she said that how bad I was to where I got in such a short time, she said it was nothing short of miraculous. She's like, I've never seen anything like that before. She said, like, whatever you're doing, wherever you're praying, she's like, keep doing it because it's definitely working. Because I remember back to the times where I was going through depression, and I would love to be that person who was just going through pain in my muscles because I know, like, a day or two, that's going to go away. I can put some icy hot on it, and it's like, okay, that'll be fine. I can walk through this pain. But like depression, you can't just snap out of it. Like you have to tackle it literally head on, and but big thing is seeing your professional um primary care physician, seeing the psychologist, psychiatrist. But I would say primary care physician is your best bet as far as your first person, because then they can kind of open the doors for other things, because they can give you a prescription if you're someone who believes in that. But if you have major depressive disorder, it would be tough for me to imagine someone not needing some sort of medicinal help. But again, that's not for me to decide for them. That's just my opinion. And therapy is also a wonderful, wonderful tool. It has got me far in a short period of time. As have my dogs and my wife and my family and my friends.
Rough Grain is archiving the stories people usually keep hidden. If you want to hear the unpolished truth, subscribe to help us document these turning points.